Back. Thanks for staying with us. And I mean, the discussion has been going on even during the break. But I really want to get thoughts on one or two things that I know is personally affecting you as Kenyans before we conclude this discussion. And one, of course, is that the Kenya Kwanza government had promised to maximize the productivity of farm activities by adopting necessary interventions. And from you, Owen, I could start with you. And I know house business hasn't started being transacted. There's no minority side, and those committees haven't been set up. But is there, in your view, is the recent lifting of the ban on GMO foods and crops possibly a part of this effort? And is this something that Parliament should be given time to debate? Because you've seen the debate around GMO foods.
Yeah, I watched the debate on GMO food. And we as Kenya Kwanza promised to increase productivity, especially in the farms. Milk productivity, we are looking at taking it up. We are looking at production in our farms. But this country has relied a lot of times on rain-fed agriculture, same technology. After the banning of GMO during the Kibaki regime, food productivity in this country has not been going up. How do we ensure that we maximize productivity? GMO is one way to go. And I think the president, in his wisdom, and looking at the research available, and don't forget the president is a biologist. He is a PhD holder in science. He understands. He reads science journals. He understands. And looking at all that, he's seen that it is safe to use GMO in this country to increase food security and also to ensure that Kenyans do not die of hunger. And that as long as there is no risk in the GMO, and research has proven that at this level, GMO is safe. Countries like the United States and other countries in the world use GMO foods, and they're there and they're surviving. I do not think we have a problem allowing GMO to go on.
Honorable Mbui, what are you hearing from the people of Kathiani today? Are they ready to adopt new technologies like these ones?
I think, Wahiga, the most important thing is that I think this government has started off with a lot of excitement. I wouldn't say the decision is wrong, but I would say is really not following the spirit of our constitution, because the constitution is very clear. Article 10 says that, you know, for all such great decisions, there has to be public participation. And I've said this over and over again, that there are scientists in this country that can be consulted, that then Kenyans from all walks of lives can be also consulted, so that you don't have a situation where you're introducing something that is misunderstood by most of the country. I mean, people, my constituents, are concerned because when they hear GMO, they think it's some kind of animal that is being brought that they'll be forced to eat that they don't understand. So I think it's important that these scientists, and I'm happy to say the president himself is a botany and zoology.
Yes.
I think he needs to also consult other experts to do with the issues with food safety and all that, so that by the time a decision is made, it is a decision that encompasses the views of the majority of Kenyans. Not to forget that as representatives of the people, how do you make such a great decision and completely ignore us, you know, completely? Parliament is like, now Parliament doesn't exist. And no wonder you're fighting to take over this house so that things can be passed in State House and wherever without us having an input. I think it is important that I give my view on this GMO debate on the floor of the House on behalf of the people that I represent, because it's a major change in how we govern this country in terms of issues to do with food. I mean, there are people who say that GMOs have negative effects, and there are those who say, well, food will be more. But then the negative effects of these, you know, genetically modified food versus the number of people that it will feed. We must look at the pros and cons. So I think it's a debate that should be brought to us in the House so that we can be able to debate. But the issue of making arbitrary decisions, I have noted that this regime is, you know, we had forgotten that from the days of the first KANU days. We had relative peace, and we knew that decisions are made in a certain manner. But this Ruto's regime, I mean, the decisions that are being made, the roadside decisions that are being made are getting me very worried. But I know it will keep me busy for the next 5 years, telling Kenyans what they have to watch out for.
Oh, and go ahead. Even
yeah, what I would like to say is, I think to say this is a roadside decision is being far from the truth, because the president convened cabinet and consulted cabinet. And the decision was made is a cabinet decision, not just entirely the president's decision. Secondly, this country passed the biosafety law, which is actually subsisting. And we actually have a biosafety authority in this country, which regulates this GMO and other scientific methods on production of productivity. There's a lot of university research. Kenyatta University, my alma mater, is actually on record to be one of the universities that has carried extensive research on GMO. And therefore, it's, we cannot say that is an arbitrary decision. This decision has come to cabinet before, during President Kibaki's time, and it was held. It was not implemented then. But necessary infrastructure was put in place to ensure that before this country moves into GMO, a lot of work has been done. This country, the infrastructure, the law on GMO is there, the Biosafety Authority was set, and science has been done. And therefore, we cannot say that this is an arbitrary decision by the president. This is a well-thought, researched, and cabinet has taken a decision. The same decision will be communicated to Parliament, I'm sure, and it will be brought to the floor of the House when this stalemate ends. And therefore, Parliament will have a decision on the same before it is rolled out to the country. But as it stands, a cabinet has approved the use of GMO. But we also know that there are certain laws that even if cabinet approves, it still has to come to Parliament for debate, and that Parliament says this is okay. So I want to tell my friends here from Kathiani, don't be worried about the people of Kathiani. You will ably represent them on the floor of the House on the matter of GMO, and I can guarantee you that.
I want to give you 1 minute to talk about cost of living as we wrap this up.
Yes.
What should Parliament prioritize? Can you remove some of the taxes, for example, on petroleum and so forth? Is that something you are discussing and you're caucusing, even as you await the official committees to be constituted?
Well, one of the things that I am very sure during our campaigns, one of our campaign planks was that we need to bring the cost of living down. Kenyans have suffered a lot. And I think it is this president's view, it is this president's drive that he would like to bring the cost of living down. And one of the things that will happen, you have heard the president has said, he wants to remove over 300 billion shillings on the budget. I think that is a statement that he's given a task force. There's a task force that meets at the Deputy President's office that is looking at the budget and looking at how do we remove 300 million from the budget. But also that will have implications on tax, will have implications on revenue and how it is generated. And therefore, this task force that sits is actually looking at, these are top economists, top technocrats, and budget experts that are meeting every day to look at how do we remove taxes on fuel to reduce the cost of living? How do we remove the myriad of taxes that are out there so that the cost of living? And I want to assure Kenyans that we should prepare for better days ahead. Freedom is coming, and we are prepared to bring the cost of living in this country down.
Okay.
As soonest possible. Before December, things will start rolling down.
Before December?
Yes.
Okay.
I can assure you that before December.
We'll take that as your final word.
Yes.
Final thoughts, GMO, cost of living as we conclude?
Yeah, Wahiga, during the campaign trail, if you would you listen to Kenya Kwanza, they were talking about bringing the cost of living down within the first, 100 days.
100 days, they're not over.
Talked about, they talked about the price of unga going down. They talked about the price of fuel going down. And immediately they took up office, and you know, they kind of implied that the previous government was the one that was making these prices go up. Suddenly, when they take over, the first thing they say is that they are no longer going to give a subsidy for food. And you know what? You're not going to provide food for someone who has died because of hunger today, next year. And I think it's important that you address those matters as quickly as is evenly possible. And that's why we were of the opinion that sometimes a little bit of subsidy, even on fuel, to bring down the cost of transportation, cost of electricity. I mean, look, these so-called hustlers are struggling. These border-borders that you're talking about now, they're buying fuel at the highest possible prices since this country got independence. But they were told freedom is coming. After 9th of August, freedom got lost.
No, freedom is coming. Freedom is coming. These are just labor pains. The baby will be born.
The baby will be born.
Yes.
I think I'm going to have you on soon when those committees are constituted, because we can now talk substantive issues. Mogambi Wycliffe, as we wrap this up, says government agenda cannot be presented in Parliament by the opposition. Whenever a party that has won the elections does not have enough members of Parliament, it can request other interested parties to join hands in forming the government. Do you agree with that?
Yes, that is democracy.
And maybe to educate our viewers, if anyone moves to court over this matter of majority-minority, will there be relief sought there, or...?
I think that anybody moving to court will be doing it prematurely, because this is a matter that concerns political parties, and the law provides that any dispute in political parties needs to be handled at the political parties tribunal.
Okay.
And any court will want to refer that matter to the right jurisdiction, which is the political parties tribunal, to look at them, adjudicate the matter. And if anybody feels aggrieved at the political parties tribunal, then he can now move to the High Court on the matter. But again, the High Court cannot stay Parliament. It cannot stay Parliament.
It cannot stay Parliament.
Will still
so one way or the other, by Thursday, close of business,
yes,
we'll know
who
forms majority and who forms minority.
Incidentally, we already know.
Who is it?
We form the majority.
We are going to leave it there. Thank you so much. We've had Owen Baya, MP Kilifi North, Deputy Majority Leader Designate. We've also had Robert Mbui, Honorable MP Kathiani, Deputy Majority Leader Designate. Both here with us in studio. Both, I called them earlier acting, because one of them will be confirmed on Thursday. We wait to see who that is. Gentlemen, thank you. Great conversation. A lot I'm sure that our viewers have picked up on. But of course, on these other substantive issues, fertilizer, GMO, cost of living, they want to know more. And they'll be watching as you debate from tomorrow moving onwards, whether that will be a priority or not. Thank you for having tuned in. This is Newsnight. Next week, hopefully we'll have the substantive leaders in studio as we carry on this discussion to keep them to account for promises made on the campaign trail and the realization of things that Kenyans are eagerly awaiting. Thank you for tuning in today. We'll conclude here. On behalf of the whole team that's made this broadcast possible, Asante Sana, wherever you've been watching us from. My sign language interpreter tonight has been Wilson Mushora. We'll see you soon. By the way, the GMO debate is live tomorrow on Daybreak from 6 a.m. You have to tune in for that. All the experts will be here in studio. They'll be going deep on matters GMO, where we've come from, the implications of that cabinet directive, and the way forward. It's a show you don't want to miss. So go and get some rest and then tune in at 6 o'clock for that show. Goodbye for now. My name is Wahiga Mwaura. We'll see you soon. Kwaheri.